Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion, and in this video I'll be reviewing the third test between India and England. And so I never actually thought that I would be doing my review this early on in the piece, with the game only really lasting 5 sessions, because India only had to get 38 runs in the last session and not many overs were bowled in the last session. And also the fact is that the whole in the fourth innings in the game actually only lasted for less than half an hour, I think, and India got 49 without loss in 7.4, securing the win pretty easily in the end. And this was a very surreal, test match to watch throughout, especially on the second day where we saw India's collapse, which none of us were expecting, and people were thinking that India would get at least 100 lead, and England would, maybe get just enough for India to bat again, or if India get, let's say 125, 150 lead, then maybe there's a chance that they may just bow England out for under that. But England, with what Joe Root did, and Jack Leach continued his good work from before, and I really thought him taking the wickets of the middle order really put, gave England even more hope than they already had, because I thought there was a big reason for them to still have hope, because considering the seamers that they have, and considering the pink ball under lights, um, and also seeing the purchase that spinners got from the surface and them having Jack Leach, I honestly thought that they could still have hope of getting something out of this game, and definitely that I think it was about 17 overs or so where England just got the last 7 wickets. In fact, India were 99 for 3 at the end of day one, and they got all out for 145, so 46 for 7, and amongst all this, amongst a very good Jack Leach performance, was Joe Root's fifer, which was, well, unbelievable, because I mean, when he came onto the board, you kind of thought he was saying, well, look, we're a spinner short, and Jack Leach is getting purchased. Let's just see how I go. And he would have never have expected to get, I mean, effectively a fast bowler's dream spell with 5 for 8 and 6.2 overs. And I think he's the first English captain to get a 5 after Bob Willis. And he would have never been thinking that he would walk, back to the change room with, the ball in his hand, leading the team off. And he would have never thought that. But, in the end, he got the fifer, and India got all out for 145, meaning that England were right back in it. Despite the fact that on this pitch, India got a lead of 32, which was actually, a fairly decent amount, considering if England lost wickets early, then maybe, things would still go India's way. And so, yeah, before I actually continue with this, I'm going to go on to say, like, why I'm actually very surprised that this game went the way it did. And I'm saying this. So first of all, I thought it's a very bold statement from India to pick 3 spinners for a pink ball test. And it's because the last pink, with what we've seen of pink ball tests, we've associated with the ball, with the ball moving around and for the fast bowlers dominating. And especially in the pink ball test play in the Eden Gardens against Bangladesh, you saw how much the ball was moving around under lights. And I don't think any of the Indian spinners got a wicket in that game, and it was completely dominated by fast bowlers. And you saw how threatening Ishant Sharma was in those conditions, and that's the reason why I thought he would be the one again in this test match to really thrive, and the fast bowlers would be used a lot more. And so I thought at least 3 were required, because as I said, with what we've been accustomed to in pink ball cricket, I thought that that was the way that maybe India should have gone. But another thing, look, I this is always the best thing to do, is kind of just trust the team management, because they're their first person, they know what they're doing. And again, considering, as I said, what's happened in pink ball matches in the past, there's no reason why they would just, I mean, they picked Washington Sundar as a third spinner who doesn't really turn the ball much anyway, and especially, bowling him in a pink ball test, they would know what they're doing, and so they would know the reason why they picked Washington Sundar, because they would have saw something in the pitch. And in the end, look, the pitch favored the spinners, and the spinners played the major part. And that's why I'm saying that again. I thought it was a very bold call, considering the dynamic of pink ball test, but it is what it is, and it worked in the end. And the fact is that people may say that people are saying that England picked a team for a pink ball test, but not for this surface. And I think Jeffrey Boyko also said that they thought they were playing a pink ball test in Adelaide rather than in Ahmedabad. But what I'm trying to say is that even we all from the outside, I mean, I saw a few comments when the starting 11 came up for India, and people were thinking, being confused. They felt confused because they saw the three spinners. And if even we're feeling confused, I mean, this is a team that, as I said, I mean, everyone else thinks and I keep on saying this, everyone thinks of pink ball tests as being fast bowler dominated. And so, especially with the seamers that England have, and especially what they can do with the new ball, and what Anderson did in Adelaide with the pink ball in conditions that, I mean, if you take the lights out and put the red ball in, it may not have even suited him, that much at all. And so, you see what England can do when the ball is moving around. Why would they not go with, their strength, which is their fast bowling? And why would they not go for their strength when, there was an opportunity for that to work? I mean, you saw when India were batting in their first innings, you saw they started off very slowly because of how well Anderson and Broad were bowling in conditions, where the ball was moving around. And the thing is that the ball may have probably still been moving around, in both the team's second innings, but by then it was kind of a spin to win situation, and a pacer didn't bowl a ball really in the last two innings of the game. And the thing is that, as I said, it was a very bizarre test match, and so I feel like England shouldn't really be criticised for their selection. And so starting off from the first innings, and England got all out for 112, and there wasn't really much for England really, apart from a 53 from Zach Crawley. I thought he played brilliantly. I mean, his timing was just supreme. And Ishant Sharma started off well when he got the wicket of Dom Sibley, but I think that he was a bit off colour apart from that, because he was bowling half volleys and kind of drifted onto the pads a bit. And so he actually only bowled 5 overs in the game and got 1 for 26. So he's a bit expensive. And Zach Crawley was really, you saw the shots he was playing off him, and also of some of the other bowlers, and you really thought that he's really looking to be positive. And yes, he slowed down afterwards and got to 53 of 84, but honestly even that isn't really that slow, and you honestly thought he was batting very well, which he was. And he actually was the backbone of an England innings where the score was very small in the end, 112. And you saw Ollie Pope. You saw this example of Ashwin, kind of undercutting the ball and getting the ball to go straight on, rather into this is in the first Chennai Test, rather than getting the batsman to play for turn and getting the ball to go straight on rather than turn, and so the batsman could be caught on the crease and or playing the wrong line. And so the thing is that Ollie Pope got out that way against Ashwin in the first Chennai Test, and he also got out that way in both innings in this test, and one of them was around the wicket and the other one was over the wicket. And so that was something where the Indian bowlers bowled very well. And you saw Akshar Patel, I mean, he's bowled for 4 innings and he's got 3 fifers, and he's got 3 fifers in a row, and he got 11 wickets in a pink ball test, and which is just ridiculous. And so as I said, the bowling figures, the Pacers didn't really have to do much, and Akshar Patel got 6 for 38 in 21.4 overs, and Ashwin got 3 for 26 in 16. And so it was a kind of thing where, yes, I was, I still thought that England shouldn't have really, 112 was a bit too low at that stage of the game for this pitch. It just wasn't enough runs on the board, and even 145 afterwards wasn't really enough either in my view. But I'm saying that I attributed the fact that the spinners were getting purchased because of this. So and they kind of mentioned a few other factors in commentary as well, because they said that the Eden Gardens Test was played more towards the winter time where it gets darker earlier, and that's the reason why that the ball, it was night for a longer period of time, and the ball swung around more. And also I feel that that pitch was made for the fast bowlers and this pitch was made for spinners. And considering the fact that the length of daylight, I thought that England innings didn't really last very long, and in with that logic, with it not really being winter in India, there would be daylight would be there for a longer time. And so since England kind of didn't bat for very long in their first innings, I thought that considering that there was, the track was dry, and so there would be some kind of purchase for the spinners. I definitely thought that that could be a reason why the spinners did get purchased. And um, about the way that England batted, I feel like and I'll say this, I'll elaborate on this because there's this mixture on people criticizing the England batsmen and criticizing the pitch. And so about the first innings, I don't really think there was much criticism on the pitch because despite the fact that Alistair Cook went on to criticize the pitch, when England were batting, he talked about the fact that um, that they could have played for the straight one rather than playing for turn because you're much less, if it turns big, then it is what it is, but you're much less likely to get out if you play for the straight one. And Deep Das Gupta in England's second innings also, said a similar point where he said play inside the line. And so if the ball turns big, then, if you get beaten, then it's fine because at least you're still there. And England could have definitely done that as well. And also Graham Swan talked about the fact that when Pope got out in the first innings, a few balls before that, and I think this was in the same over, he actually went down the track and defended a similar ball that Ashwin bowled. And so in this one, he actually, he didn't move his feet and he played the wrong line and he was caught on the crease. And so Graham Swan said that you play a similar ball like that in the same over, but then you just, you get out to it in the same over. And so that was something that was also there. The fact that there was also a thing where England maybe, look, it was very difficult, and I'm not going to really criticize them for it. And I can understand why people are saying the pitch because there was, the fact that I talked about the fact when Ashwin was, what he did, he tried to undercut the ball and get the batsman to play for turn. But in this, you saw some for someone like Akshar Patel. Now, of course, the skill of the bowler is involved in this, but when they actually showed the split screen of him, turning the, bowling the ball when it's turning and bowling when he intended to go straight on. And there actually there's no noticeable difference at all in the action, and the batsman can't really pick any kind of cues. And so honestly, and if you saw the game, some turned and some didn't, so it was a nightmare for the batsman to play. And the only thing they really could have done was play for the straight one. And when you're in there, when you're in the middle, your mind will be racing in these kind of situations, and always, with the amount of concentration that requires for batting in general. So again, I'm not really going to criticize them, but I feel like there were things that maybe they could have done better. But all in all, 112 just wasn't enough in the first innings when there really wasn't that much. People didn't really know that much about it. They just thought it was a turning track and that was it. And it was 112. And so then there was 145 that India got. And it actually, I thought that England were in the game, even though they got 112 because despite the fact that I say that people thought it was a turning pitch, definitely, as I talked about, England's fast bowlers under lights, and also, if England, if Jack Leach and Joe Root, and you saw what he did, if Jack Leach got India playing for the things that England did, and maybe enforce a few of the same mistakes, which he did because India also played for the straight, played for turn, and in the end got dismissed by the straight one, and maybe England would have a chance. And India, they were very slow in getting out of the blocks because of the fact that, as I said, Anderson and Broad were bowling that well. And the collapse was very surreal because, honestly, no one expected it. People just thought that, as I said, the 100-run lead and then the rest, the game would just go on as it will. And England were right back in the game. Now, I didn't expect England to score too much in the second innings, but I definitely didn't expect them to score 81. Now, it was, you saw the very first ball of the innings, and, the player who scored a 50 and was kind of the backbone of the first innings got out for a golden duck by a brilliant delivery from Akshar Patel. And Johnny Bairstow, he was judged out the second ball of the innings, but the ball was going too high. But then, the next ball he got bowled. And out of all the dismissals in that second innings for the English batsmen, I honestly think that Johnny Bairstow is the only one you could really say is kind of at fault for his own dismissal. Apart from that, Joe Root only scored 19 in the second innings, but I thought he looked composed, and there was a partnership between him and Ben Stokes where, they got England to about like 50 for 3. And I remember Ben Stokes played this outrageous reverse sweep off Ashwin, where the ball was kind of angling in towards the stumps and it was full. So if he missed it, he would have been out. And he just managed to get so much power on the sweep that it went past the field, the diving field, and it went for four. And so I thought it was a very good shot, and it was innings of positivity from him. And Ashwin did get hit for the first few overs that he bowled, but then he also came back with 4 for 48 and 15. All in all, then Akshar Patel got 5 for 32 and 15. And by the way, both of those two bowled 15 over spells out of 30.4 overs. And Washington Sundar only bowled 4 balls in the innings with 1 for 1. And yeah, it was honestly that by then you really saw that it was just so surreal, and you thought, okay, this pitch is definitely a nightmare to bat. And I mean, again, not unplayable because there were ways to go about it, but it would be very hard to put them into practice. And I'll say what Sunil Gavaskar said on the pitch, during the commentary, because I did think it was a very valid point, but I also thought what the points the other people made were valid as well. And so India, walked out about, won easily. And yeah, that was the test that, finished in effectively 5 sessions. And I think it's the shortest recorded test, the quickest recorded test since 1935. And it's a peculiar start to kind of the history of it's a peculiar start to the hosting of games by this particular ground, because you look at already with the thing that it seats 132,000 people, eclipsing the MCG, and the ground looked really good. And I felt that this kind of a debut occasion in a high profile series, along with a pink ball as well to kind of cap it off as the first game of this stadium, I really thought that it was it was a very good occasion. And more than it just being a debut game, we've seen such a test match where a record kind of has just been broken. And so the ground looked very good on TV, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was there was a franchise based around this ground as a home stadium in next year's IPO, so IPO 2022, when the 2 more teams introduced. And I think that it's also been named as a tentative venue for IPO 2021 because of the fact that because of COVID-19, some places may not be able to unfortunately host any games. And Joe Root also said something that this week doesn't really define our team, and I actually think he's right, because honestly, both sides of the people arguing about not arguing but kind of saying their views about the pitch were right. And Sunil Gavaskar said the fact on commentary that this pitch, it brings out, it's a test of skill for the batsmen, and the players who play well in these kind of pitches are the real batsmen. And I thought it was a very it's a very good point. And we've seen how good of a player he was. I mean, for me, I could only see it in highlights, but still, he was a very good player. And so coming from him, and you would take it. And honestly, it's true, the fact that we also, even just watching that, there were ways to go about it, and you saw what the commentators said as viable options to go about it, because I mean, it's a safe option to play for the straight one when it is turning as it was. And some other people, before I actually go into this, I'm saying that there is a bias here, and I'm saying this: if England had won this game, would anyone would some of the ex-players be complaining about the pitch? No, they wouldn't. And you saw after the first test, which I thought was when I say it was a dreadful pitch, it's not about the conditions. It was about the fact that it wasn't consistent throughout. And you look at how bad the first test pitch was. An absolute road for the first 2 days. Side batting first, conveniently can just score however much they want. And then it just starts deteriorating a little bit in the last session of day 2. And then the batting side getting 578 think, oh, well, everything's good because it's deteriorating. And obviously it will be harder for the team batting next to get the runs. And then that team, the team that scores 578, gets bowled out for 178 in their second innings with a 400 run gap between the totals. And so honestly, if India had batted first, who knows how much they would have scored, because honestly I thought that India actually did a pretty good job in bowling. Maybe the 2 support spinners from the first test may have not been able to apply the pressure they would have wanted, but really you look at the other 3, they bowled very well, and they just weren't helped by the fact that the pitch was a road. And the second test, I thought it was, it was very consistent, and I thought it was very good. But just because England lost that game, uh, they just were all saying the pitch was, bad. And I don't get this, because India literally showed that a few players standing up and doing well, and this isn't a pitch where you can expect everyone to get runs. A few players standing up and doing well generated such a big lead, and you see how integral Rohit Sharma's innings was, how Ashwin's innings was, how Kohli's innings, Rahane, Pant. You look at all these people and you think that India and England had to get 482 on this kind of a pitch. And so India realized that, we have to find a way to get runs on this pitch, and they did exactly that. You saw Virat Kohli, after getting out, getting out for a duck in the first innings, how he went across when he was facing Moeen Ali, and how he stayed leg side when he was facing Jack Leach, and that's how he scored 62, which I would say was almost like 100 because of how skilled that innings was. And the fact is that England got completely outplayed, and their batsmen just didn't do that. And so what's the point of blaming the pitch when the other team showed such a method of winning in even those kind of conditions? And so I felt like that was ridiculous, the criticism of the pitch in the second test. And in the third one, it's like, I can understand the criticism, because it's like, it shouldn't deteriorate this much on from day one to day two, where you know a part-time off spinner, not a very good part-time off spinner, but someone who just thought, in Joe Root, thinking, well, look, I'm the captain of this team, I'm here for my batting, and I'll bowl if I need to. I know I'm a decent bowler, but I'll bowl if I need to. Let's just see how it goes. And then he gets as I said, a dream fast bowler spell of 5 for 8. And even after that, he ends up on the losing side, and he's thinking more about the fact that the team didn't win the game than his 5 for 8. And so I understand the criticism of the pitch for that, but I'm saying that there were ways that you could play, and you saw the way the India are batting. Honestly, when England bowled in that fourth innings, I actually thought that they could even defend it, considering how ridiculous the fall of wickets was getting. And I thought that if they caused the same problems that India are causing in that second innings, getting them to play for turn and be more direct with their lines, I definitely thought that England could have a good chance of defending this, considering both their bowlers have had success in the series. And Joe Root's bowled very well in the series, and Jack Leach has had success in the series. And so I thought that maybe this could be on the cards, whereas England did not hit the areas that they wanted to. They didn't test India in the desired way, especially for the conditions. And there was nothing where you could really say they tried to play for turn and so on. Because I thought Joe Root's angle of attack was I don't know what that was, because he gets turn, but effectively the ball pitches on middle and leg. And you can't blame the keeper, because when it's turning that much, and getting bounce as well, a few will go past the keeper for byes. And when you're defending 49, the byes will just ease the pressure on the batsman. And honestly, the sixes started rolling out. And in the end, when India batted, it seemed like the pitch didn't have any demons at all. Partly because they were that confident, because of, they were chasing a lower total. And they thought, okay, look, we can win the game. It's only 49. And also, England just didn't bowl very well. I thought it was like they lost hope when there was really an opportunity for them. Even in the Channel 4, the innings break thing, they were saying that maybe there could be an opportunity, you never know. And I thought there could be. And in the end, England just lost hope when really maybe they didn't need to have lost hope. Because if you're going to lose the game anyway, you may as well give a fight and just completely not give a fight. And then, that opportunity just goes begging. And I'm saying that maybe they could have got the game closer, maybe got 4 or 5 if they'd actually, bowled the desired lines and really tested India in the way that the pitch demanded. And so that's my take on that. And yeah, as I said, it's the fact that England, if they'd won this game, the other people just wouldn't be complaining about this pitch. And you saw that India didn't complain about this pitch, and rightly so, because they found a way to win on it. And it's the fact that it's been a very weird test match, but and also a milestone for Ashwin, 400 wickets in 77 games, a brilliant bowler. And people say that that he struggles to bowl overseas, when nowadays he clearly doesn't. You saw in 2018 in Australia, you saw in this recent Australia tour how well he bowled. You saw, I think he even got a 4 for in South Africa in 2018. Yeah, I think the other Australia tour was in 2019. Sorry, and so he got fourth in South Africa in 2018. When I think his only wickets before that fourth in South Africa, was I think it was Steyn and Morkel. So honestly, we've seen how well he bowls overseas. Also in England, I thought he bowled well. So yeah, this whole debate on him bowling overseas for me is just finished. And another thing on him is that you used to saw this Vernon Philander, because they seem to get injured, both of them, when they go overseas. And Ashwin, especially you see him now, he has got injured quite a lot in these recent overseas tours. And so that's the reason why I just feel like his body is forced to bowl he's forced to bowl in a different way. And so maybe there's a slight adjustment that maybe his body can't take, unfortunately. But you saw it was very pleasing, to see him bowling a 15 over spell in the subcontinent. And yeah, honestly, it's the fact that when he bowls in India, he just seems to be bowling in a more, a way that's more comfortable for him. And that's the reason why he can bowl longer spells and go a long time without being injured. I mean, when has he really? I mean, when was the last time Ashwin actually had this injury in when they're playing in India? I mean, I can't remember when it was. So that's a take on Ashwin. He's a brilliant bowler, and yeah, hopefully he can get more wickets, because he's had a brilliant career with 5 Test centuries as well, and yeah, a brilliant bowler. And Akshar Patel also, I mean, what you know an introduction to Test cricket for him. As I said, I mean, getting 3 fifers in a row in your last, in your 4 inning old international Test career is brilliant. And he got it in his home place as well. 11 wickets, I think, in his home place in Gujarat. So I feel very happy for him. And yeah, that's this Test match. It was a very weird Test match, and both sides, there are things to say that the pitch could be criticized. There are other things to say the batsmen, the batsmen could have applied themselves better. And yeah, I definitely feel it's a mixture of both. But India showed that the game could still be won if they just applied themselves on this pitch. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?